Nation football fans, to another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. I am, of course, Mr. CeeLo here, talking all things Carolina Panthers, from the postseason to the Super Bowl to the offseason, from the draft to OTAs to the preseason to the regular season. Let the growling begin. Welcome back, all of you Panther Nation. Glad you could join us again for another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. Well, guys, once again, I'm here talking to you guys again on another tough week. But I do want to set the record straight. You know, we've got a lot of writers from Cat Crave to Panther News saying that we were just absolutely beat down. Now I know what a lot of people are going to say, 33-10, it looks like a first-class beatdown, but, this is the reality. If any of you watch this game, now I know to a lot of you guys, it's going to be like, hey, look, they pounced us. But I'll kindly remind you guys, it was 17-10 going into the fourth quarter, you guys. We were in this game. But unfortunately, which has become an unfortunate similar story, Bryce Young yet again throws a pick six on, honestly, what I'm going to say was a ball he shouldn't have thrown. I mean, it was not out in front of Jonathan Mingo, and then, to make matters worse, Bland picks it off, who's the defensive back for the Cowboys, who sets an NFL record with his fourth interception for a touchdown. This guy dove and rolled over, and Mingo made really to bring him down. Now, I'm not calling him out, but, it brings me to a point that maybe one of the writers that I remember saying that he thinks that there's a lackluster amount of effort on the part of some receivers, whether it's getting open or finishing routes. And I'm going to be honest with you, some of that is Bryce Young's fault. He looks at Adam Thielen, and I'm going to be honest with you. Tommy Tremble was open on this interception, guys. Some of this is on him. He's not having the willingness to look for other guys. And I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people are going to say, well, you're a professional athlete. You should go hard every single play. Well, and I remember I don't want to call other reporters out, but the reality of it is there are reporters out there that are saying DJ Shark is this, that, and the other. DJ Shark got the ball a lot in that game against Seattle. I don't know if many of you guys remember that. This is the guy that, if he's one-on-one, I'm looking for. This hasn't panned out that way. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, it's because the line can't protect. Well, some of this is on Bryce. I'm just going to call it what it is, But I will say this. I don't understand why Frank Reich took the play calling back. Maybe his job is on the line, and rightfully so. This offense is bland. And I'm not talking about the corner bland. I'm talking about just boring. I get it. And I want to call out one of the reporters. I'm gonna make sure I write your names down, because the reality of it is when you say something like Coach Evero is a lot of the reason. No. Coach Evero is not. Look, he held Dak Prescott, who people were just praising when this. If you Panther fans know, everybody was talking about Dak Prescott being so hot, being so much on fire. He went 25 of 38, guys, but he only had 189 yards. 189 yards, you guys. Dude was throwing up over 250 every game. So, what people don't understand is the Cowboys rushed as a team for over 107 yards. you sit and you watch this game, you guys, and it's kind of like this game didn't get out of hand until the fourth quarter, guys. It was 17-10. I mean, let's keep it real. Look, as a team, we ran for 110 yards. We ran for more yards than they did. But here's the issue. 16 of 29. 123 yards, 7 sacks. 7 sacks. Corbett, whom I love, but he's still trying to work his way back, but he has not looked good since he's come back. Chandler Zavala, notification that they're saying this guy is not getting an absolute nod for the start this week. And before I start giving my handouts for whatnots, I got to talk about Taylor Moton. You've been great, guy. Probably the lone bright spot playing that right tackle position. He's been pretty darn stable. Ike Ekwano's been up and down all year. I mean, there's just no beating around it. I mean, it's been, I don't really want to say it's just been a disaster, but you know, really there's no other way to put it, Panther Nation. It's been an absolute nightmare. And I'm just, you know, I'm not at the breaking point, but you know, a lot of people are going to say, well, we could still salvage the season. I mean, you know, the only thing we can salvage is hopefully we don't give the Bears the first pick. And I'm just not a fan of when you make decisions on something that you to me, you have to be committed to excellence. And I'm not seeing this. I'm really not. And you know, I think a lot of problems everybody's saying is the staff. I don't think so. I think a lot of this is preparation and game planning. All right, here's the reality of it. You're asking Bryce Young to make, I'll put it like this. When you see C.J. Stroud and you see Bryce Young, you see a guy that's confident in what he's doing in C.J. Stroud. To me, it looks like you see a guy in Bryce Young who's shook. And that's your fault, Frank, right? I can't even blame Thomas Brown because he's only had this offense for 3 games. This offense was more high octane when Andy Dalton was running in that Seattle game. You can look back there and call me a lie if you want to. C.J. Stroud is throwing the ball middle of the way. You can sit here and call it what you want, but Bryce has to have confidence to throw a ball up. Or, in layman's terms, give the ball on reverses, if you will. We run such a simplistic offense, we don't take our shots. We really don't. And the real irritating thing about all of this is that the results are not happening. And it just irritates the dickens out of me. I know what people are going to say. Just say what it is. I'm going to say what it is. And I'm not going to call for anybody's job, but I will say this. Frank Reich, when are we going to get some results? You know, you said a couple of weeks ago, we've got the first win. We're right there. We're right there. And see, we lost to a Chicago team that had a rookie an undrafted rookie. How? And I mean, and this is the thing that bothers me. You know, we had Strachan, whom, I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, okay, 6'5", 225, what's the deal? Why didn't we take some shots down there with him? DJ Shark was even back in uniform. See, these are the kind of things I would actually say, Frank Reich, you need to be out of here. Why did this guy not dress? And then Terrace Marshall didn't dress again. What's the deal here? These are big-bodied wide receivers. And what are you telling Bryce Young? Are you telling him maybe we can take our shots? when you got big body receivers? Are you doing that? Are you doing that? And see, that's my problem. Thielen had 11 targets. Mingo had 6, and most of those were just throwaways, including the interception. The only knock I had on Mingo was his effort to make that tackle on an interception. You fed Tommy Tremble 3 targets. Should have had a 4th. Because Bryce, instead of throwing that ball to Mingo, that target should have went to Tremble because nobody even covered him. And this is where I have to say, Tommy, settle down. Settle down in there and show him your number. Just all you got to do. Settle down. And this is where Frank Reich's got to say, hey, look, we need to feature Tremble because Tremble's a pretty quick kid. I know. He's a Notre Dame guy. Let's look at it as a whole. The receiving, Thielen, 874. Tremble had the lone touchdown. Stephen Sullivan came back. An effective tight end, 6'5", 245. We've got some big targets here. The problem I see is Frank Reich wants to feature Adam Thielen the entire time. I get it. Bryce trusts him. But you got to feature plays with other guys. Sullivan, 6'5". Put that kid on the outside with the linebacker or run some type of wheel route with him and say, hey, Bryce, over the top, baby. You have no creativity on offense. Just give the damn play calling back to Thomas Brown. We finally started running the ball a little bit, but here's the thing. Miles Sanders finally decided that, hey, I'm not getting any playing time, so maybe I need to get my game on. Maybe I need to do better. He finally started doing, this was the best I've seen him run all season. He was going in and out of spaces and coming back and doing some of the things we saw him do last season. And I was sitting there like, okay. And then the offensive line looked more comfortable pushing Dallas around, which was here. Here, listen to me carefully, Frank. Greg Olsen said this during the game. I don't know if you got guys watching the broadcast, but maybe you need to start. Maybe you even need to watch this show. Dallas was fast. They're not big. Even the guys like Lawrence and Parsons are not big. They're quicker than your line. So what do? You maul them. You come up with creative ways to attack them. And then what you do is when you get them confused, you take a shot over the top so you keep them confused. You're sitting here trying to play to their strength with their speed. They got guys that should be playing safety, playing linebacker. They got Michael Parsons who came in as a linebacker. You guys, he's playing on the line of scrimmage. What do? You have to use your brute and strength. Put Sullivan and Tremble on the field at the same time. Heck, you just got Ian Thomas back. Go to triple tight end. Simple. Dallas don't have very many big guys on the roster. Line them up. Run right at them. I don't understand. But let us take a look at the top players for the week as we look. Taylor Moton topped us out. Chuba Hubbard at 70. Moton was almost at an 80. Stephen Sullivan, Adam Thielen, and of course Miles Sanders had a better week. And this is big because I got to give a shout out to Moton, but he wasn't charged with any of the 7 sacks. Or, he allowed 2 of the team's 23 pressures. Wow. I'm just amazed. And what's funny to me is we're in week 11 and Frank Reich still, and I'm not putting as much blame on Thomas Brown as I am Frank Reich because Frank's the coach. He's supposed to be the one that comes up with this team's identity. That's why he's the head coach. He understands what this identity of this team is. Because he's carried all but 3 weeks. And here's the reality. When you start talking about an identity, Steve Wilkes had Carolina an identity last year. Yeah. I mean, and honestly, I think what needs to happen is, and I don't like this one bit, because you drafted a guy in Bryce Young who's not really equipped with the play action pass. C.J. Stroud was, Will Levis was, and you drafted a guy to be a shotgun, read the defense type of guy. And that's not a bad thing, but here's the reality: you don't have an idea of how to utilize him. That's what I'm seeing. Because you're sitting here having him throwing short throws, which he's not accurate with. He's missing guys open, and he's not comfortable. He's shaking. Let's look at the worst of the offense. DJ Shark, 51-2. Bryce Young, 49-9. Jonathan Mingo, 48-2. Returning line guard, Austin Corbett, 38-2, and Chandler Zavala, whose status for this week is up in the air because of his inability to do what he needs to do. He was credited with 3 sacks, 5 total pressures, and now has a 7.2 pass grade for the year. By far the worst of any offensive lineman with at least 5 appearances in the NFL. Unreal, guys. Thank you for the tidbit of information, Anthony Rizzuti from Panther Wire. And the reality of it is, a lot of this issue falls on the back of the offensive line. Yes, Bryce gets the credit for the failure because of this. This is why he gets the failure for the credit in this sense. Because Bryce made 2 interception throws that should not have happened. And on the fumble, you could argue, just tuck it away, Bryce. What are you doing? And I'm not trying to be critical of him because he's trying his best to be a good leader and not throw anybody under the bus. And unfortunately, in this situation, that is a very difficult thing to try to do or try not to do. But as I said, we're looking at people that are talking about the defense, and I'm going to have to make some comments. I keep forgetting to bring my notes when I'm doing the show, and I know that's what this is about, getting up notes. But I heard one reporter say that the Carolina Panther defense has been the issue. I think this defense, starting with Troy Hill, has been phenomenal, and I can't leave out Frankie Louisville. He's been great. And, of course, Brian Burns. The sacks don't show it, but teams are saying, hey, look, we're going to hold you down. Amari Barno hasn't made a big contribution. Of course, he was hit with that 15-yard personal foul. Keep going, Amari. You did right. He waited the last minute to go down. But it was a bad call, period. Troy Hill ended up with a 90.9. He was phenomenal. And he was sticking tackles left and right. I'm telling you, I love this kid. We got to sign him long term. Derek Brown, 85.7. Frankie Louvu, 79.8. Brian Burns, 71.9. Camus Gruger Hill, 69.2. Of course, yeah, and that's I can't second anymore, Anthony. Yeah. Hill was all over the place. He's been a phenomenal signing. We just need to get J.C. Horn back. Yeah, you know, ironically, he tied the team for a league-high 8 tackles. I mean, you know, you don't get any better than that. And unfortunately, as I said, in losing this game, this put us back in the cellar, you guys. And it's not a pretty place for us to be at this moment, because here's the reality. You lose all those picks, so you don't want to end up back here. Now here you are. Who wins this draft? And it goes back to what they said. We didn't win this draft in the first place. I would have had I been doing the show last year, I would have told you guys we lost that trade from the get-go when we gave away 2 firsts and DJ Moore and 2 seconds and a third. There ain't no way we should have gave away all of that. The most we should have gave up was a first, DJ Moore, and 2 seconds. That's the most. But this is where I say, Scott Fitterer, I don't even need to say it. Between the Christian McCaffrey trade and the DJ Moore trade, that's all I can say. I mean, it is what it is, but at the same time, it's kind of like, and the Miles Sanders signing opposed to Deontay Foreman. But let's go through the defense. These guys, Louvu had 8, and as I said, after aforementioned, Troy Hill had 8 tackles, as well as a tackle for loss. Von Bell was good again, although he did get tacked with a personal foul, if I recall correctly. Derek Brown has been the dude. Another tackle for loss this week upon 6 tackles. Dante Jackson, whom I get tired of hearing people in the newspapers talking about, oh, dude, this guy, he needs to be gone. He needs to be a cap casualty and so on and so forth. Listen, Dante Jackson, if it had not been for this guy and a lot, people are saying 41.6. He was one of the lows. Deshaun Williams has been a disappointment. Deion Jones has definitely been one. LeBron Ray and Shy Tuttle. All these guys were just... they're saying Jackson allowed 5 catches for 59 yards on 6 targets, but... okay. I'm sorry. To me, that PFF doesn't describe how effective he was at tackling the football. People are going to sit there and say, oh, he allowed this and he allowed that. Okay. To me, that's not as big a deal. He didn't give up a touchdown. And as I said, he's always good when he's at the line of scrimmage. I thought he played a much better game than his counterparts that finished worse off than that. But as I said, guys, this to me, when people say we got crushed in this game, no, I don't want to. We didn't get crushed in this game. The score looks like we got crushed, but we didn't. And I'm of the essence that hey, we fell apart in the fourth quarter. We did, and it should have never came down to that. We had opportunities, and I'm a firm believer Frank Reich doesn't know what he's gotten himself into, and at this point, he's fighting to figure it out. And honestly, we have to throw the football down the field. We're not going to be a spread type offense. We're not. And if that's what you drafted Bryce Young for, then you picked the wrong spot. I'm seeing problems with his accuracy. He's trying to lead, but at this point, the offensive line is not good. They're calling bad routes for our receivers. These guys, I'll give you a perfect example. Terrace Marshall's not a route runner. He's a go-getter. If you remember when he played at LSU, he was the third guy. He was the third wheel from Jamar Chase to Justin Jefferson. This guy either needs to be playing in the slot or the X on the outside. He needs to be doing that, and he needs to be able to go up and make spectacular grabs. Listen, Frank, stop telling Bryce that if a guy's one-on-one, he's covered. DJ Shark, Jonathan Mingo, Terrace Marshall. If they're one-on-one on the outside, you throw it. You need to get more creative. We need to run more either skinny post or crossers across the middle to get those safeties to pay attention so we can get these guys across the middle. Or we need to start running more wheel routes with our slot guys. Put somebody like Mingo or put somebody like Sullivan, Tommy Tremble in the slot and then run what we call a wheel route. Stop sitting. Everybody's keying on Adam Thielen. With that being said, guys, we fall to 1-9, and as I said, Frank right now officially has the hottest seat in the NFL, and it's looking like if we don't get this win against Tennessee, he might be gone already. I don't know, but I thought it was a dumb decision to take the play call on Sunday because I didn't see anything any different than what Thomas Brown would do. I just didn't. But let me guys know. Let me know what you guys think. As you know, I am Mr. CeeLo at Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. The show is on Facebook. So if you guys got comments and whatnot, please put them down there on the Facebook page, as well as comment on the show below and whatnot. But until the next time, you guys, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.